Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to start part 2 of the powder coating oven build series, and we're going to go ahead and start into the next clip where I left off in the last video. It's been a few more days now since the last clip, and I've actually made a little progress on the oven. Not too much, but enough, you know. So what I've done is I have welded in angle iron. So here's 2 pieces and then 1 at the top. This is where the racks will be going for hanging items in the oven. So I will take the rack and I'll slide it on this bottom one, or I'll slide it on this top one right here. And you may be asking, why do I have this piece so close to this one? I'm going to put a rack into this piece, and then this piece will actually be another rack, but it's just going to have insulation on it, the 2-inch thick insulation going up from it. And it's going to be a barrier layer. So if I have small parts in the oven and I don't want to heat up this whole area, I can actually just put that insulation layer right here, and then I'm only heating up half of it instead of the whole thing, and that's kind of the goal with it. I'm putting the heating elements at the bottom, so hot air rises. I figured that'd be the best spot for it, and I really think that's just going to be the best thing for us to do. What I'm working on next is I have 1x1 to make the racks out of, and then I have 2x2 left still so I can make the door. Those are going to be what I'm fabricating next. After that, there's not much else left to do. Really just put the door on, put the insulation in, transfer the heating elements and controls from the old oven and put it into this new one. So we're really not that far off. We will be working on this next and getting things done so that we can have this oven complete. So you just saw I mocked it up, and that's about how it should look when you put the rack in, whether you put it in here or at the top. You see everything fits nicely. I did allow for some wiggle room here so that when you're holding something that could possibly be heavy, it will not be a strain to try pushing it in. And I left some wiggle room on the front as well. That way the door has plenty of room to close. Next step is to start welding on this. I just finished cutting and welding the rack together, so here's what it looks like. I'm thinking maybe in the future put 1 or 2 crossbars, probably 2, 1 here and 1 here, and that's what I can use to tie all the parts up. It came out really good. I'm happy with it so far. It fits in the oven pretty well. I really can't complain with it, and next will be the door. I just got finished welding the door together, and I have put it in, and it fits really well into it. I do still need to do some grinding to the edges where I welded it together, but other than that, the door framing anyway is pretty much done. The next step is to take this other cabinet we have, cut this whole back panel off, and cut it to fit this frame. That way we have a sheet of steel going across it. Then we'll put insulation in after that, and then another sheet of steel from this. More than likely the next piece is going to be multiple pieces on the inside, but for the outside we want to use 1 flat sheet, which we have here. So this will be pretty easy. There's tacks all around, going all across the perimeter of this cabinet. We're just going to cut all those off and then trim it to fit. Okay, so we just finished up for the night. As you saw in the last couple clips, I took the cabinet and cut the sheet metal off the rear end of it and repurposed it for the front of the oven door. I used self-tappers to put it in, and then we went ahead and drilled the holes for the thermometer. As you can see, here's the progress. So Our thermometer that we're using is just a standard cooking thermometer. It goes from 100 to 550 degrees all the way around, and that's really good for our operating range, which is between 400 and 450. It is threaded on the back, and we drilled the holes, one here and one closer to the middle. So if we go ahead and put this in, it fits in there nice and snug. It came with a washer and a nut, the hardware to mount it. It sticks out about 2.5 inches, so it will go through the 2-inch door and still have the probe stick out. Yeah, so it fits in this hole, that hole, and that will give us our temperatures for the top half of the oven when we want to utilize the whole oven, and it will give us the lower half reading if we want to put that barrier down to just separate the two. That way we save on energy, and it's just a more efficient process for smaller parts. But yeah, it's the next day, back out, and we're going to continue with what we were doing. So working on the door skins, putting the insulation in, and probably going to start working on the actual cabinet and getting the insulation and sheet metal in as well. Just a quick update, my dad has went ahead and put the hinges on. We're working on getting sheet metal measured and cut. To mount everything, we are going to put tabs here so we can self-tap side sheets into here, and then the back will self-tap onto those tabs, and that's the plan right now. I'm wrapping up for the day. I got quite a bit of work done. It doesn't look like a lot, but it's a lot when you actually go to assemble it, or it will be. So what I've done is cut out the sheet metal out of the scrap. Well, first I cut this whole cabinet up, took all the scrap metal out of it, and then I've been cutting this sheet metal to use as the inner skins for the inside of the oven. So I have this piece where it will slide up under this angle iron bar, and then it will slightly go under this one, and then we will self-tap them in. This piece is the bottom one, so it'll go here and slide up under here, and we'll self-tap that one in, and I did the same thing for this side. So yeah, that's pretty much all the progress I've made for the day. Actually, there's one more thing. My dad screwed the hinges on, got those mounted, so that will be ready to go for the door. All we have to do is mount it to the actual oven itself. But really good progress for the day, and we just got a lot more stuff to do, but we're getting closer to the end. I'm gonna go ahead and end it for the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, we're back for another day, and we still got work to do. We're making progress towards getting the oven done, but we're not there yet. So as you can see, I have already turned the oven down on its side. Last clip I cut the metal out, which is right there, the sheet metal for the siding. So next I'm gonna put the insulation in, put the sides on, finish that side, do the other side, and just keep moving forward doing that. I still have to cut sheet metal for the back and for the inside of the door, but other than that, we're not too far off, so we'll see what kind of progress we can make for today. This is our insulation of choice. It is 2-inch thick ceramic insulation, and that's what's going to be going in our oven. Here's just a good look at what it looks like. I got the first piece of insulation in, and it looks really good. So it's another day and we have continued to make progress towards getting the oven complete. So as of right now, I have finished cutting all the metal for skinning the inside of the oven. So I have the top of the oven, I have the back of the oven almost complete. I have all the pieces cut out, but we still have to trim them to fit. And then I also have all the pieces of metal for the inside of the door. Next is just making sure that we can get the thermometers in. We got to mount the heating element for the oven to the back side of the inner sheet metal, and then start putting everything together, adding insulation and whatever else we need to get done. So hopefully we can get that done today. We'll see. Here's the oven door with the skins cut out and just stacked on each other, and this is all the metal for the rear, and I already have the one on top just sitting on top. I don't have the insulation or anything in it. Finish the door, getting all the sheet metal on it. Got the thermometers in for the low and the high options that we have created. Looks pretty good. Insulation's in, rear backing's in, everything's good on it. I have just cut out the back panels around the angle, have those put in just for temporary purposes. Still need to put the insulation in and still need to finish getting the wiring and stuff done. My dad has put the heating element in the thermocouple. He's been taking apart the other oven. That's completely taken apart at the moment. Controls and everything. He is now working on the controls, getting that oriented in a smaller form factor. And we are either thinking about putting it on the side or on top. He put the insulation under here. It just needs to be screwed on, and that will be done for the top. This is the update I have now. So next I will be putting in the pieces of angle on the back side that these will be screwed into. So we're going to screw those into the side, screw these into there, and that's how those are going to mount. So after that we'll probably work on putting insulation in and other things of that sort. But for now, this is what we have. If you notice, we had the 2x2 in that back corner, and we did this to it where it's screwed down. We got more angle like this, and we're going to self-tap it into the 2x2 behind, and then we will self-tap into those little angle pieces. So they're about 1 inch big, really just enough to get a screw in, and we'll probably do one at the top and one at the bottom of each panel. And then for these bigger panels like this one and the bottom one, we will probably do one in the middle as well. Here's the pieces of angle I have. I've already went ahead and put a hole in one side, and then that will go into the 2x2, and then we'll go ahead and take a drill bit, drill into this with the panels on so that we can self-tap it. We're pre-drilling holes so these self-tapping screws have a little easier time going in to the thicker material. But yeah, that's what they look like. I have about 16 of them. That should get us through everything we need to do. I now have all the tabs made, have them going all the way around where the seams are, and 2 in the middle, 1 on each side for the 2 big pieces. So next I'm going to start laying out the insulation in here, probably going across, and after that start putting the sheet metal on. Now I have the insulation in. I got it nice and tight all the way around, even in the corners. I just stuffed some in. There's a little extra. So now I'm going to start putting the panels on. Hopefully it won't take too long. Really the hardest part about it is just going in there and pre-drilling before the self-tapping screws, because I've had problems with the self-tapping screws stripping. But shouldn't take too long, and then by then all that will be left is the door and the wiring, and we're pretty much in the clear. Alright, I got all the panels on, all screwed in, every single spot. It took a while. I broke a few drill bits. I don't know why. It was really frustrating, but I eventually got it done. We got the heating element in, the thermocouple, and we have the controller completely wired up and grounded. So now we're getting ready to plug it in for the first time. We have power.
Yes, we do.
So I guess just need to make sure if it works or not. Light came on for oven on.
Yep, it's hot.
And it's starting to get hot. There we go. She works. Now get the door on, shop vac the inside, put the lock on, and we're pretty much done. I also forgot to mention I put the sealant on down at the bottom because we had a little bit of a gap. So that's all sealed up now. So there we go, door's on. Goes in and out pretty well. I mean, it does what a door's supposed to do. It opens, and wait for it, it closes. So here's the finished product, here's the oven, and let's go ahead and open it up. Opens up nicely, and here we go, we have our barrier. So the door will stay open. It's got these slots here, and that's where the rack's gonna go, and it's gonna provide a barrier so that we're only heating up the bottom half of the oven, and that works perfect for what I'm doing right now. Go ahead and close it up. Closes nicely. Everything's working. I don't have that mounted, fully mounted yet, but it will be mounted in the future. Here is the finished rack that I ended up using for the powder coating oven. So it has the original oven rack on top of the fabricated rack I made. I have these joints running across the sides, and that is to help strengthen it and also allow for heavier parts. I did drill them on both sides so that I can hang from them as well. Primarily, I've been using the oven rack to hang all the parts. I mean, that's really all I needed so far, but this is what I have and it works well. For the oven, I did end up adding this shelf onto it, as you can see, and it holds all my powders, my PPE, all of it, gloves, everything. All the other materials I need, as long as the actual powder coating system up there. So I can keep everything self-contained in this one unit. It is really nice and convenient, and I have to say it's been working very well. While editing this video, I realized I didn't film an outro, so don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.